Hey guys, I'm Brent Rose, writer and Magic Dragon. So if you're a human living on the surface of the earth, by now you know that e-cigs and vapes are everywhere. But perhaps you didn't know it's billowed into a $2 billion a year industry. That's a lot of money to be spent on what is literally vaporware. But all is not rosy for these tokers. The FAA recently banned vapes on a plane, starring Samuel L. Jackson, citing the fact that they can contain harmful chemicals.
The more times you heat it over and over and over again, that contributes to some of the carcinogens or formaldehydes that we see in e-cigarette aerosols, according to some recent research.
Couple that with tales of exploding batteries, child poisonings, and all kinds of other bad stuff, and you've got to wonder what the hell is going on here. How much of this would a kid have to drink in order to be harmful?
One sip can potentially kill a child within 20 minutes or so.
Well, today we're diving into the world of vaping to see if we can find out. So I'm heading to USC's Health, Emotion, and Addiction Laboratory to talk to some of the top researchers in the field. A lot of people say, hey, this is vaping, it's not smoking.
Right.
What is the difference between vapor and smoke?
You take any kind of mixture of chemicals and you heat it up to a temperature, there's going to be some chemical reactions that are occurring, right? And some of those chemicals are going to be hazardous.
And there is a governmental agency, I believe, that regulates food flavorings and stuff like that.
You can take a chemical that's safe to ingest and swallow. It may not be safe to inhale. I think one of the issues that's been raised is the substance that's been used to create a buttery consistency. So if you get like microwave popcorn, it's caused by this chemical diacetyl. That's safe to eat and swallow. But inhaling, it's a different story. Workers in these plants that were creating these bags of popcorn that have, the diacetyl buttery flavoring, were developing this rare lung disease. Companies are putting diacetyl in their e-juice because you need something to create that viscosity.
So we've got this like popcorny flavor
Right, okay.
that we know when inhaled causes this major lung problem. And yet these companies are putting it directly into juice that is meant to be inhaled.
Right.
Is that right?
But we don't know whether if you vape it has the same effects. It could have very little effects or it could have equally severe effects. So we're trying to study that right now.
That kind of raises a point. This is all so new that we don't know anything about the long-term health effects. Is that about right?
Exactly right.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about what's in these various liquids. We know that nicotine is very toxic if ingested. We've got these little bottles here. They've got, fruity pictures on them. How much of this would it take to kill a kid?
It might only be 1 or 2 milliliters. Now, a sip of your coffee that you take, or even a child's sip, is about 5 milliliters.
So it would just take a sip to kill a kid, and yet we don't really have child-proofing on these. Why is that?
That is one of the frustrating things about these products, because you can buy a lot of things, Tylenol, aspirin, Drano, and those all require packaging that is child resistant.
Right. And when we're getting into these bigger custom rigs, what's the problem there?
They're lithium-ion batteries. And what's happening is that people are maybe overcharging them, using improper chargers. In addition, they're carrying extra ones in their pocket. And if your phone's in there, if your key's in there, anything that has metal on metal contact can start a fire. So we've seen burns to legs, the groin region, but also these have exploded, for lack of a better word, when people have been having it close to their face. And we've seen bad burns to the face and to the neck region and the upper chest from these batteries exploding.
So what did we learn here today? Listen, I used to smoke, and years later, after all the chemical dependencies have faded away, I still miss just playing with the smoke. So yeah, vaping today was really fun for me, but at the same time, my lungs feel absolutely trashed. They say it takes getting used to, but I'm positive my body does not want me to get used to that. So it's possible that it could be a healthier alternative to smoking cigarettes. But here's the scariest thing. Vaping is so new that we know nothing about the long-term health effects. Maybe it'll prove to be harmless, or maybe we'll see a sudden spike in lung cancer 20 years from now. We just don't know. But if we learned one thing that's beyond question, it's that you absolutely have to keep this stuff out of kids' reach, because even a small sip could kill one in 20 minutes flat. If you're making the choice to try vaping, you have to know what the potential consequences could be. Personally, I say hold off until we know more. But what do you think? Are you going to give vaping a shot? Let us know in the comments below. Subscribe to Wired if you haven't already. And with all that being said, there's really only one thing left to do.
Cigarettes and marijuana have been used for centuries, but only recently has the process of vaporizing these substances become popular. So what does science have to say about this technology? Is it actually better for you? Smoking only takes 6 seconds for the active compounds to reach your nervous system, unlike chewing tobacco or eating edible marijuana, which takes much more time, but you have to inhale smoke in the process. This smoke consists of partially burned particles, which creates tar in your body, has cancer-causing effects, blackens teeth, and destroys taste buds. This is where vaping comes in. If you can heat the active components enough to become aerosolized without starting a combustion reaction with the other compounds, then you theoretically get fast effects without the damage of smoke inhalation. Vaping typically involves a glass or metal chamber which has an electrical current passing through it. This way it can heat to a controlled temperature, creating a vapor with minimal combustion, meaning you inhale much less smoke. Current evidence does indicate that vaporizers administer nicotine with far less adverse effects due to decreased carcinogenic products and smoke inhalation. But less harmful does not mean safe. E-cigarettes with added flavoring, such as blueberry or grape, have been found to contain other harmful chemicals, and secondhand smoke is still an issue. Exhaled particles from vaporizers, known as ultrafine particles, are known to affect pulmonary health. Others are worried that because these e-cigs are deemed healthier, that they're becoming more appealing for young people. A study reported that continued use of e-cigarettes for teens in grades 6 to 12 had increased from 6% to 20% over 3 years. On the other hand, much of the information we have on the adverse effects of smoking comes from long-term studies, with cancers appearing much later in life. Since vaporizer use is relatively new, we simply don't have the same access to longitudinal studies. So we'll wait to see what the future brings.